Let me ask you something before we start. Have you ever had a night that didn't feel special at all while it was happening, but later, when you looked back on it, you realized that that was the moment everything shifted? Not a big event, not something dramatic, just a normal night that quietly messed with how safe you felt afterward. That's what this story's about. Nothing jumps out right away, nothing obvious, just small things that don't sit right once you connect them. And the weird part is, if you were there with me that night, you probably wouldn't have thought much of it either. Anyway, this is what happened. It was a Thursday night, and I remember that because Thursdays were always predictable for me. Same routine, same walk home, same mindset. I left work a little after 10. The streets weren't empty, but they were quiet enough that every sound stood out more than usual. A car passing here and there, someone talking on their phone a block away, shoes scraping against the sidewalk behind me for a second before turning off somewhere else. Nothing strange, just normal city noise. By the time I got to my apartment building, I was already thinking about what I'd eat and whether I'd stay up or go straight to bed. I unlocked the door, stepped inside, and dropped my keys into the bowl by the entrance like I always did. The apartment felt exactly how it always felt. Same smell, same temperature, same soft hum from the fridge in the kitchen. I didn't turn on the big lights, just the lamp in the living room. I liked it that way at night. I made some tea, sat down on the couch, and scrolled through my phone without really paying attention to anything. The kind of mindless scrolling you do when your brain is done for the day. At that point, if you asked me how the night was going, I would have said normal without even thinking. The first thing that caught my attention wasn't loud or obvious. It was my phone buzzing. I assumed it was a notification I'd already seen, but when I checked, it was a message from a number I didn't recognize. That alone isn't strange. Wrong numbers happen all the time. What made me pause was the message itself. I see you. That was it. No emojis, no follow-up, just that. I stared at the screen longer than I probably should have. Not because I was scared, but because I was confused. It didn't read like spam. It didn't feel like a joke either. I thought about replying, asking who it was, but decided against it. If it was a mistake, responding would only make it worse. So I locked the phone and put it face down on the table. That should have been the end of it. But after that, I couldn't stop noticing the silence. Not quiet in a peaceful way, just noticeable. I tried to focus on my tea, but I realized I was barely drinking it. I kept listening. The fridge kicked on. The building made a soft popping sound like it always did. Somewhere outside, a door slammed shut. Then, I heard something from inside the apartment. A creak. Not sharp, not loud. Just the sound of pressure shifting somewhere down the hallway. I didn't move at first. I just waited for it to happen again. A few seconds passed. Then, another sound. Slightly closer this time. That's when my body reacted before my brain did. My shoulders tensed up. My breathing slowed without me trying. I told myself it was nothing. Old building, temperature change, normal stuff. Still, I stood up and looked down the hallway. The light was on. That bothered me more than it should have. I always turned it off. Always. I stood there trying to remember if I'd walked past it earlier without thinking. Maybe I had. I didn't trust my memory enough to argue with myself. I reached over and switched it off. The apartment went back to how I liked it. Dim, quiet, but the feeling didn't leave. I didn't go to bed right away. I sat there longer than usual, checking my phone more often than I needed to. No new messages, no missed calls. Around midnight, I finally got up and locked the door again. Not because I thought someone was there, just because it felt like the right thing to do. When I lay down, I didn't fall asleep immediately. I stared at the ceiling, listening to sounds I'd never paid attention to before. Then, I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, careful, inside the apartment. I didn't move up. I didn't scream. I just froze. The footsteps stopped outside my bedroom door. And then I heard breathing. Not fast, not shaky, controlled. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Long enough for my arms to start feeling heavy. Long enough for my thoughts to stop racing and narrow down to one idea. Whatever this was, it wasn't accidental. When morning came, the apartment looked normal again. Too normal. No doors open, no broken windows, no signs of anything being wrong. Until I noticed the marks by the front door. Dirt. Footprints. Not mine. They stopped right outside my bedroom door. I moved out 2 weeks later. Didn't explain much to anyone. I didn't know how. Even now, years later, I still think about that night. Not because of what I saw, but because of how normal it all felt while it was happening. And that's what stays with you. There are a lot of stories like this. Quiet ones. The kind that don't make sense right away. If you find yourself thinking about them later, replaying details, wondering what you would have done differently, you're probably the kind of person who understands why these stories matter. There are plenty more nights like this to talk about. If you want to keep hearing them, you know where to find the next one.